When you're doing conversions in chemistry, a lot of the times you'll go from grams to moles and from moles to grams. And in order to do that, you need to have the formula mass. This number tells how much 1 mole of a substance weighs. So for example, water. If you were to try and figure out the formula mass of water, you would need the periodic table. So for example, to find the formula mass of any substance, such as water, you're going to need the periodic table. And in the periodic table you see that hydrogen weighs 1.00794 grams and that oxygen weighs 15.9994 grams. It's always important to remember the units so that when you're done doing the problem you make sure you have the same units. Then what you're going to do to get hydrogen, H2O, or water, H2O, you're going to add them all together. You're going to have 1.00794 times 2 because there's 2 hydrogens plus 15.9994 for the oxygen, and that gives you 18.015 grams. Okay, so to do a problem, we're going to go from grams to moles first. So how many moles are there in 8.345 grams of carbon? So to do this, we're going to start with our given, 8.345 grams of carbon, and then we're going to need to set up our problem. And we're going to put this over 1 mole of carbon. And since we don't know what that is off the top of our heads, we're going to go to the periodic table again and see that carbon is equal to 12.01 grams. So 12.01 grams of carbon is equal to 1 mole of carbon. So we put this on the bottom. So then we see here that grams of carbon and grams of carbon cancel out. So in order to find the moles of carbon, now all we have left to do is to put 8.345 grams of carbon over and divide that by 12.01 grams. So then we do that and we find that the answer is 0.6948 moles carbon. So that's the same thing as saying that 8.345 grams is equal to 0.6948 moles of carbon. So now for the second example, we're going to go from moles to grams, and our question is, what is the mass of 2.7 moles of water? So we start with our given again, which is 2.72 moles H2O. And then we set up our problem, and we have 1 mole of H2O on the bottom, and as we figured out earlier, that was equal to 18.02 grams of H2O. So now we see again that the moles cross out, and that leaves us with 2.72 multiplied by 18.02. So then now we know that that equals 49.0 grams of H2O.